What's up guys and welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you that how to stream CloudWatch logs to a lambda function with subscription filter. So for example, if we want to perform the real-time log analysis of any service, then we can use this approach of streaming the CloudWatch logs to a lambda function, right? But we always need to keep in mind the limitation of the AWS lambda, right? So I will come to that point later, that why we need to keep in mind the limitations of AWS Lambda, right? So ideally here we are going to create two Lambda function and we are going to stream the logs of first Lambda function to another Lambda function, right? For the purpose of this tutorial. So we will get started with creating the Lambda function, or maybe first we need to create the IAM role for both of the Lambda function, right? So first we will jump to the IAM management console here, and here we are going to create a role. So click on roles, create role. We are going to choose lambda here, right? Since we are going to use this in lambda functions. Permissions. So here we only need to assign one permission, that is lambda execute, right? So ideally this give permission to S3 bucket and the CloudWatch logs, that is a full access, right? Then tags, I will say name and stream logs as value, stream logs, review, name it, so I will say lambda CloudWatch log stream, and I will say create role. Now once the role is created, we will jump to the lambda management console, right? So we'll say lambda, and here we are going to create two lambda function, right? So I'm here, I will say create function, right? So we'll name the first function as lambda invocation, right? Runtime as Python 3.7. We are going to choose an existing role here, right? So the one we have just created, so that is lambda CloudWatch log stream, right? And I will say create function, right? And what we are going to do here is we are going to print an event here, right? So that we can understand that we come to know that log is being streamed, right? So we can see the event output on the target lambda function logs, right? So I will come to that point, right? So I will say simply say here a print event, and I will say save, right? And here I am going to do a dry run only once, right? So I'm doing this dry run because dry run in the sense I'm going to run this lambda function for once, right? Just to create the CloudWatch logs for this lambda function, right? So if I go to CloudWatch here, sorry, CloudWatch, and click on logs. So if I see here, then I don't have the log group of that lambda function, right? So in order to create the subscription filter, we are going to select that log group, and then we are going to perform that action, right? So in the next step. So that's the reason I will simply create the log group over there. I will set test, and I will name the event as test again, and create, and I will set test, right? So if I see here now, refresh it, lambda invocation, I have this log group, right? So now I will go ahead and create the another lambda function, right? Oops, lambda. Oh, by the way, I was already here in the lambda function. No. And I will say create function, and I will say lambda stream target. Okay, and in the runtime Python 3.7 we are going to select the same existing rule that we have just created, right? That is lambda CloudWatch log stream, and I will say create function. Of course, I am going to, we are going to write some code in this lambda function, right, in order to decode or unzip the CloudWatch log stream, right? So we will come back to that. But before writing some code, we are again going back to CloudWatch management console, right, in logs. And here I am going to select the first lambda function log group, right? So that is lambda invocation, right? And I want to stream the log of this lambda function to the target lambda function, right? So in case if you want to stream the custom log groups, right? You don't want this. In case if you don't have this log group present here, if you want to stream the custom log group, then what you can do is you can simply say create log group, right? And I will say stream logs, okay, and create log group, right? So here we have that stream logs, right? So for now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to stream this lambda function logs, right? So that is lambda invocation. So likewise, you can stream any of the logs that you want to stream, right? Not logs, basically the log group, I would say, right? So even from here, you can create the log stream, right? So it automatically select the log group for us, right? So just to show you, we will create it from here, right? We will select the log group here, and I will go to actions and I will say stream to AWS Lambda, right? And here we are going to select the target function. So in my case, or in our case, it's the second Lambda function, right? So it's Lambda stream target, right? So before we move on, I want you to read this warning, right? So ideally it says that streaming large amount of CloudWatch logs data to other destination might result in high usage charges, right? So here you might want to create a budget for this streaming of logs, right? And other thing that I have talked earlier in this tutorial, that we need to keep in mind the AWS Lambda limits, right? So for example, the first Lambda function that we have created, right? So it might have lot of invocation and lot of um, long logs or the large number of invocation. So as a result, it will keep invoking or keep streaming the CloudWatch logs, right? So here we need to consider the limitation that the target lambda function will time out after 15 minutes, and it have a maximum of 3 GB of limits or memory, right? So that's few of the limits you need to keep in mind, right? So moving along, we will click on next. Now here it says configure log format and filters, right? In log format, I'm going to select JSON, right? So here we have a sample invocation. I will say test pattern. I think I have made a mistake in the first lambda function, but we'll look out to that. So when I clicked on test pattern, it shows with the result like this, right? So this is what it's going to stream to the target lambda function, right? So in case if you want another log format, so maybe I will select space delimited, right? And I will say test pattern. So it will return something like this, right? You can even define your custom filter pattern here, right? So for now I'm going to select JSON here and click on next, and I think we are all set, and we will say start streaming, right? Now as you can see here in the subscription column, it says lambda and the target lambda function, right? So it's streaming to this lambda function, right? So I have made a mistake here, maybe not. Okay, anyways, so what we'll do is we'll come back to the second lambda function, right? And I will say print event here, sorry, event, right? I will say save. Now what I'm going to do is going back to the first lambda function, and I will say test, right? Now the logs of this test, right? Now the logs of this run should be streamed to the target lambda function, right? So where is it giving me an error? Name EU is not defined. I'm not sure. Let me reload this lambda function. But anyways, this logs has been streamed to the target lambda function, right? So what we will do is we will go to the second lambda function and we will say monitoring, and we will say view logs in CloudWatch. So we have the logs generated, right? So let's see what it have. So it says AWS logs and data, right? So this data is basically in base 64 encoded format, and it is compressed with gzip format, right? So we need to decode this data, or maybe first we need to decompress and decode this data, or maybe let's see. So we'll come back to this lambda function and first lambda function. So I have this mistake here, that is EU, it's event, right? I'm going to save this. So as I have mentioned that we are going to write some code in the target lambda function, right? So because we need to decode this, right? Decode this data, because we cannot read this, right? So that's the reason we are going to write some code. So we will come back to second lambda function here, right? So here we will require two packages, that is gzip, right? Since it is compressed with gzip format, right? And another is base 64 to decode the data, right? So I'll just remove this print event here, right? So first of all, we will fetch the logs. So first of all, we are going to fetch this data, right, in a variable. So for that, we'll define a variable, that is CloudWatch underscore event, right? And we are going to get the log stream and the event itself, right? So event of AWS logs, right? So that is nothing but this one, right? And then from AWS logs, we need this data, right? So it's going to be AWS logs of data, right? And we have the encoded data in the CloudWatch event variable, right? Now we want to decompress that, right? But before that we need to decode that, right? Because it's ideally in base 64 encoding format, right? So both the things we are going to do in a single line, right? So I will say decompress underscore data, right? So I'll say gzip, or maybe let me do it separately. Maybe I will remove this. So I will say decode base 64, right? So that's the second step. So it's base 64 dot b64 decode, right? And the variable, that is CloudWatch event in my case. Now the third step is to unzip that data, or the decompress, sorry, not unzip, decompress. Decompress underscore data equal to gzip dot decompress, right? And we'll pass on the decode underscore base 64 variable, right? And then what it will return is it will return us the bytes data, right? So we will say log underscore data, I will say json dot loads and the variable name, right? So from decompress underscore data we get bytes, right? And from json dot loads it returns dictionary, right? And finally we will say print log underscore data. Okay, Now here we are all done. We'll save this function, right? And we'll go ahead and delete this logs, right? So I'll say delete log string. Now I will go back to the first lambda function, right? And I will say test. Now these logs should be streamed to the target lambda function, right? And this time it ran successfully, by the way. So I will jump back to the cloud management console of the lambda stream target. So here we have the logs. So it's loading and here we go. So we have this outcome, right? So it says message type data message, owner, then we have log group, log stream, right? Subscription filter and log events. So the actual thing resides in the message, right? So that's what we want here, right? That is this one. Right, so what it does is, so when we run the lambda function, it first start the lambda function, then it do some processing, right? So for example, I'm just saying the ideal scenario, right? So it will do some processing, then it will print some logs, print some output, right? So it takes some time to populate the logs, right? So that's the reason it has ran multiple times, right? So it started. So we have the first line here, right? So that is start request ID. So let me open the logs of that lambda function too. So we'll come back here. So this is the one, right? So if you look at this message that says start request ID 72B523, right? So if we look here, so it says start request ID 72B523, right? So this is the first line, right? Then we are expecting the this payload, right? The event payload. So if I look at the second, so it has multiple messages, right? So maybe if you can see here, right? Message. So it has the payload, right? Then the what else we have? Then we have and we have report, right? So here we are expecting three messages, right? So first is this one, the payload. Then another message is and request ID, and the third message is report request ID, right? So it depends. It might run three times. It might run four times. I mean, it maximum it will run the number of lines, right? I mean, maximum times it will invoke based on the number of lines we have, right? So in case the target lambda function can invoke in this ideal scenario is 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? So one of the reason that it has merged all the messages in one, because this might have populated at once, right? So that's one of the reasons. So that's it for now. That's how you can stream CloudWatch logs to a lambda function using the subscription filter. But parallelly, you need to keep in mind the AWS lambda limits while you are streaming to AWS lambda. And also you need to set up some budget, because this is going to be, I mean, exponential, right? So our first lambda function invoke for once, the target lambda function might invoke for 4 times, right? So you need to keep in mind. So I'm not sure, but I can do another tutorial on streaming the CloudWatch logs to Kinesis, right? But that depends. You can drop your request and comments. So as usual, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case, then please leave them below, and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. If you have any queries or comments, then please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.